This podcast is a quest for well-being, a quest for a meaningful life through the exploration of fundamental truth. Enlightening ideas, insights on physical, mental, and spiritual health. The inspiration is love. The aspiration is to awaken new ways of thinking that can lead us to a new way of being well. Welcome to Body, Mind, and Soul Healing Conversations.
In modern allopathic medicine, we find doctors specializing in only one area of the body or a single aspect of health, such as endocrinologists, immunologists, gynecologists, and rheumatologists, and so on. Each area of the body is isolated as though they are not connected. When Sandie Gascon first started coaching, her business coach emphasized the importance of finding a niche. Even in the functional and holistic world, there are niches. Practitioners specialize in hormones, adrenals, candida, Lyme disease, and so forth. Just like in allopathic medicine, many holistic practitioners tend to focus on treating only one area of the body, as though nothing is connected. She thought long and hard on what her niche would be. Due to Sandie's own experience healing from chronic illness, she was unable to pick one. She knew that regardless of what symptoms or diseases are present, the entire body, mind, and spirit must be addressed as a whole, because everything is connected. Valeria Tellez interviews Sandie Gascon, the author of Heal Yourself, Body, Mind, Spirit. Sandie Gascon is a health coach who has helped guide hundreds of people from over 25 countries on their healing journey. After suffering severe side effects from medications during her 20-year battle with chronic migraines, when she was diagnosed with lupus, she committed herself to healing naturally. Through her experiences, she developed a whole body, mind, and spirit approach that addresses the person in a truly holistic manner. She takes the guesswork out of the equation by running functional lab work to see what the body needs. She healed herself of migraines, depression, lupus, interstitial cystitis, and cystic acne. Her purpose is to help educate others on the importance of shifting focus to rebuilding and rebalancing the body and removing internal and external stress so the body can heal itself. Sandie lives in Ontario, Canada, with her husband Eric and son Caden. She has a passion for riding horses and spends much of her free time at the barn with her horses Bee and Vala. She loves playing with Caden, spending time with family and friends, and hiking with her dogs. Meet Sandie at motivatedtoheal.com. Here's the interview with Sandie Gascon.
In your own words, who is Sandie Gascon?
I am a mom. Definitely that's who I am. It's my greatest passion and joy is just being a mom, being with my son. I felt really this calling lately to go back to the earth and really become one again. We have, my husband and I have this vision of creating this off-grid home that is completely self-sufficient, and it's just a oneness and getting away from where we are in civilization right now. So it's just, I am very into that natural being and that natural beauty and just calling to the forest.
Wow, that sounds wonderful to me. What was the inspiration for that? Did you have some revelations, realizations recently?
A lot of what's going on with the world, just wanting to disconnect a lot. We moved to Florida and we're right by the Ocala National Forest, and I've been going on these beautiful trail rides through the Ocala National Forest, And
Wow.
I just want to be there all the time.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
That sounds wonderful. What is that about nature that makes us feel so connected to the spirit, to the soul, to, I would say, to love, unconditional love?
I think it's twofold. One, when we're there, it's quiet enough that we can listen and we can feel the connection. When we're out in our day to day life, there's just so much. There's the technology, there's so many tasks. And when we get there, it becomes quiet. And when it's quiet, we can listen and we can connect. And then it's also that awe, being in awe of nature and really showing the amazing ability to create and what's been created in this universe, how beautiful it is. So bringing us back to that childlike awe and wonder.
So we'll be talking today again about your book, Heal Yourself, Body, Mind, and Spirit. And I remember one of the sentences, the statements that caught my attention in your book, the work you do, one that is holistic. It addresses all parts of the human being, all components. And I love what you said. There's a phrase where you say, the body wants to return to balance. Do you connect this idea of balance in being a human body or of the body itself to nature and what nature does organically?
Yeah. Well, our body has such an innate wisdom. The processes that our body does on every second to second is just, we can't even fathom it. And it knows so much. And we've really disturbed that balance with the chemicals and the toxins and the metals and the EMF and the stress that we're putting ourselves under. And when we reconnect with nature, we can really see how everything is in balance, and the body is nature. It wants to return to balance. We just have to start giving it the tools.
Would you say that balance is a practice for life, Sandie, or an understanding in time that carries on?
I think it's both. It definitely is a practice. I don't think we're ever going to get to, well, maybe not in this lifetime for myself, that place where everything is just perfect and peaceful. We do have things come up in our body that really fuels a lot of growth in different areas of our life. Illness itself can turn us from a very destructive path onto a more natural healing path. Illness can really precipitate a lot of spiritual growth. So it does have a purpose in itself. And sometimes it's us needing to turn inwards and really look at the changes that we need to make in our life.
I love that insight. It's a powerful message. The transformation comes from challenges. I have seen that in my own life. The most powerful transformations that I had came from chaotic times. That's so interesting to see. And I wonder if that's always necessary, Sandie, has been my experience. Or at some point we begin to grow and transform gracefully without so much suffering.
That's definitely my hope for it. And I think the more we raise more conscious children who have an understanding of a more spiritual aspect of things, the laws of the universe, knowing how to create based on our thoughts, that it's going to really help. And I think that we're all making these individual consciousness shifts, but collectively we also make consciousness shifts. So I think that is more so that end goal is to find that place of peace and connection and oneness as a species.
Yes, a trillion times to that. Finding that peace within that realm of oneness, realizing that. And my last warm-up question is about the obstacles to healing. What are some of these challenges that you have found to be the most impactful ones that really sometimes can block us from healing?
Yeah, so it's funny. I was just working on a module on those topics. There are many. It can be as simple as just compliance, not making the lifestyle changes, not addressing the habits that are keeping people stuck. not focusing on the supplements, not wanting to put effort into the mindset work, or turning inwards into more of a spiritual journey. Not everybody's ready for that. And so with my program, it is holistic in that it is working on the body, which is more so the science behind how the body works, and mindset, which is learning to recognize our thoughts that are creating a lot of dysfunction, and then the spiritual work, which is turning inwards, focusing with meditation to find that connection to the oneness. And what I've seen is that not everybody is ready for the mindset or the spiritual work. Some people just want to do the science, which is great. At least it's a beginning, it's a start. And then hopefully what I aim to do is plant a seed that might grow later with those other aspects, because we definitely can make a lot of progress just working on the science aspects of the body and focusing on giving the body proper supplements and tools to rebuild, rebalance, and repair. But more often than not, until we start to address those lifestyle issues, turn inwards, work on our mindset, we're going to keep living those patterns of illness because they are a signpost that those other things need to be addressed.
I might have asked this question before about being ready and open to heal. I wonder what the purpose is of that, because I see people around me who are not open to even the conversations about healing. What is the purpose of that? Is there a timing, universal timing? Yeah, I wonder what that is, Sandie.
Yeah, I feel, it might be, again, twofold with that, in that I believe we do choose to come here and we choose to experience some things, and perhaps some people choose to come and experience and not heal from it. It's just that is what they want to experience. I believe that while we're here in this world of form, that, there is suffering, there is sadness, there is joy, there's all these things to experience, these sensations, these tastes, these smells, and it's on the other side is love and peace and forgiveness and oneness. So we come here to experience these things. And I think that I've really got to a point in my belief that it's okay to be wherever you are. And whether you heal or not, that's okay, because that could just be what you come here to experience. So there's really not a right and a wrong, though I'm still here as a signpost, as a guide to help people that are ready and wanting to move on a more of a healing path.
So you wrote the book mentioning again, Heal Yourself, Body, Mind, Spirit. Talk to me about the main purpose of your work, which you have been saying actually already, but also the training school that you are opening and working on at this time.
Yeah, so that's definitely something I haven't really, I've laid hints that I'm doing it, but definitely want to share with you. I am working on creating a health coaching academy. That's not the name. I'm still waiting on the trademarks for the name, so I haven't released what it's going to be called yet. But it's going to be what I focus on in my book, but in such more depth, to really train people who have a passion to help other people heal and heal themselves while they're going along. But those people that have that passion to help and to guide others. And I'm going to train in depth how to analyze the tests that I run, the science behind what we're looking at on those tests, how to help clients get results, how to deal with just like what we were talking about when clients are really struggling with moving on that healing path. And then in this coaching academy, I'm also going to be teaching people how to build their business and scale their business to 6 figures. So it's very exciting. I find when you ask me that question, who is Sandie? Very much I feel that I am a creator, because I sat down and I wrote Heal Yourself, and the words just flowed. And I've been sitting down and writing all the modules for this health coaching academy, and the words are just flowing, and it just feels so great to be in touch with that creation mode again. Very, very excited for it. I've looked into and done a great number of health coaching courses, and I've looked into some of the big health coaching programs, and this one is going to be pretty. It blows me away when I look at the content.
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow,
Yeah.
this is really cool. This is going to have so much great tools for people to really create their own health coaching businesses.
I love the way you're saying that the words, they just flow. Your work is so rich. I said that off record, and very generous. And when you say that it's just flowing, that means that you're open to life and just kind of doing what life wants you to do, which is very supportive itself. Life is always nature itself, trying to, everything flourishes, or it's looking from that path to flourish.
Yeah.
How wonderful. Thank you so much for being open, Sandie. Even though my body have goosebumps.
Me too. I love that. Love the tickles.
Right. That's a response of how true this sounds to the organism, right? The body itself. So I would love for you to talk to me about the techniques and the methods and techniques in your book. I mean, there are so many amazing advice, suggestions, and it's very technical, very scientific, and very spiritual too. I love that balance, that combination, which is your work is all about. So talk to me about phase 1. It's titled Rebuild, Rebalance, and Repair. And then phase 2, Remove Stress. Wow, we all need that. So talk to me for a moment about that. I do have the list here if you...
Yeah. So phase 1 is all about supporting the body. So many people, when they get into natural healing, especially with the supplements, it's all, they get very caught up in gut work or killing candida or killing Lyme, or detoxing, like very heavily detoxifying molds. So those are 3 really big, popular areas that people are focused on right now. And they end up doing a lot more harm because their body is already stressed and they're causing more stress by what they're doing, what they're taking, the diets that they're using to try to get rid of these things. And my program is very different in that we don't do that in the beginning. We run labs to discover what the body needs to start bringing itself back into balance. So we look at our neurotransmitters, the thyroid, the adrenals, sex hormones. We look for nutrient deficiencies. We really look in depth at our detoxification pathways based on our genetics, what support it needs there. We look at our mitochondrial function. So we're really just trying to support the body and repair the detoxification pathways so that when we do go to phase 2, which is removing the stress, that's when we start to tackle the pathogens and heavy metals and start to put in some gentle tools for more specific detoxification of metals. And we look at adding in antimicrobials to address the pathogens that are there so that it's less of a burden on the body. But it's only done after the body has been supported so that the body can help us and handle what we're going to be adding in a lot better.
It makes so much sense too, those steps. How did you discover them, Sandie?
It was actually from doing it backwards and not seeing results, and not only doing it myself that way, but when I started with clients, I didn't have such a firm program, and many people would want to go right to gut work, and I was a little bit more lenient on allowing clients to have more of a determination of where they were going to go. And it normally led to disaster one after the other. And I realized that it just didn't work. When you do the work beforehand to prepare the body, then the gut work and the heavy metal work becomes more easier. It still can be tough on the body, but compared to those people who try to do it first, it's night and day. And then over the years, I have spoken to and talked to, and even the clients that I take in who have really caused a lot of harm, going the other approach.
In your book, you say, I mentioned also off record, you said, the brain is the master organ. If it isn't balanced, nothing else will be. That was interesting to read this because I usually think about the heart being the main organ. So talk to me for a moment about that.
Yeah.
Love to
Well, we
hear
have
more
to
about this idea.
remember that our brain is controlling what our heart is doing also, right? So if you don't have any function in your brain, your heart's not going to be functioning either. And I think more spiritually, if we're looking at the heart as that spiritual center, then yes, that is can be very much considered, because along my journey, I have realized over and over again, not only my own, but watching clients go through it themselves, that there is such a huge spiritual factor with healing. And so yes, definitely our if we can consider the heart that spiritual center, then definitely you would consider it very, very important. But the brain itself, what I'm referring to in that is more of the science aspect, in that if our neurotransmitters are not balanced, we're not going to feel good. And no matter what the rest of our body is doing, our perception of what our body is doing is going to be very off. We're going to feel things a lot harder. Things are going to feel a lot worse because we don't have that balance in our neurochemicals.
So that's the reason. Yeah, it makes sense that the brain is running the show
Yeah,
at so
from a
many
science
levels.
perspective, and we can go into it spiritually wise. Is it only because our belief is there that it's that way? So I came from a very scientific background. I have a degree in biomedicine. I wanted to be a doctor, and there was not a lot of spirituality. There was not a lot of mindset work in the beginning of my journey. It was all science. And so I've kind of brought them together, even though the science kind of remains separate in its own little space, definitely connected through our beliefs, and our belief in how things in the body works. But it's still very much on my journey. I'm still really, the spirituality is kind of breaking into that separateness and forming all these little pathways and roots into that science. And it's really changing how I even look at the science. But not everybody is at that place. There are a lot of people who just want to look at the science of how their body works and what they can add in to do the rebuilding and repairing. And that is totally okay too, because in itself, when there is a huge belief in it, it does make, it makes for a lot of progress.
You talk about the laws of attraction there. Mm-hmm. So you say, besides focusing on what we want in order to feel good, we also focus on what we want in order to activate the laws of attraction. Mm-hmm. Is that also science, Sandie, or this is already bridging that gap between science and spirituality?
Yeah, I think that's where it really starts to bridge, in that we know that what we focus on and what our thoughts are doing, it creates a physiological response in the body and can change how we feel. And then this is where we get more into the spirituality, which now the science is starting to move in that direction when we look into quantum physics, and how when we start to look at things on the quantum level, things stop making sense. And we're starting to recognize, I just read an article on it in one of the physics journals, that when we start to look at it, just what we believe we're looking at is going to change what these little particles are doing. So the science is now starting to show that, hey, this does actually make sense. The spirituality is starting to make sense on a scientific level. So, and a lot of it is theories, but we're seeing that what we think about, we create. And it doesn't take long practicing that focus on what you do want to start to see how the laws of attraction works and how quickly it works.
Yes, it has been my experience too, because we do tend to focus on what we don't want, right? It's so easy to do that. Yeah. So when we shift the focus, then everything becomes more exciting too. It seems like at the biochemical level, something changes or shifts because we become happier. So we must be the body must be releasing happy hormones because I feel much better when I think positive about anything.
And there's been a lot of experiments with water, in that water has a crystalline structure, and you can change the structure of the water by your thoughts. So that in itself is pretty amazing because we're mostly water. The earth is mostly water. So we're definitely able to shift frequencies with that. And I've been driving my husband a little bit mad lately in that I'm so focused on my vision of this property that I see. And I must mention it 100 times a day. And he's like, yes, but we have to do this, and this first. And I'm like, yes, I know we're working on that. And I'm going to be visualizing my vision over and over and over so that it moves a lot quicker. And if you want to get on board with me, it's going to be even quicker if we're both visualizing.
Yes, I agree a billion times again. Wow, that sounds good. Would you mind to share a bit of that vision? It seems like you're trying to create something, a center, a place where people could meet.
I'd love to have a little community. That would definitely be ideal. Just people who want to be off-grid, have less of a footprint, and participate in a community where they're able to share resources and kind of distance ourselves from what's happening in the world right now, especially with the creation of whatever's going to happen with this metaverse. It's just something I want to disconnect from. And I've actually went through a rebranding process as I move my business from Canada to the United States. And my logo is of a woman and a willow tree. And here in Florida, there's so many beautiful oaks and, willow trees and palm trees. And the forest is just so stunning. And it just captured that beauty of this vision so well.
Oh my God. Yeah, that sounds wonderful to me. You just mentioned something that I'm not aware of, or maybe I am. What's happening in the world right now? What is happening right now? Actually, I don't watch TV. I don't read the news. So I'm kind of off grid in my own mind.
Yeah, that's the best way to be. I'm the exact same, though my husband is very tuned in. I have some friends that are very tuned in. So I do see a lot with what's going on in the world, but it's just a move to, like Facebook is coming out with this metaverse, which is where people are going to be creating this online reality. And there's already big corporations buying real estate in this online reality. So, going that route, people are tuning in a lot more, and I want to tune out of that. I want to tune out of that and tune into nature and really get with that oneness despite whatever is happening in the world. I want to go back like 100 years and ride horses all day.
Oh my God, that sounds incredibly amazing. And it seems like you're following the heart, isn't it? That's a calling from the heart. So before I ask you more questions about the part 2 in your book, I have a tendency to focus a lot more on kind of abstract thinking and the spirituality of our humanness. So would you like to add anything else for the audience, Sandie, about the body and the science of rebalancing the body?
Well, it's really, to me, because the majority of people have a very big focus and belief in that aspect of healing, that it is important to do. Because I've seen, and even on my own journey, the majority of people will take a little bit long with the spiritual work and the mindsets work, versus you can start to see really quick results when you start to give the body the tools to heal. So running the labs are very important, because when it comes to supplements, many people are taking the wrong supplements for their body. I work with hundreds of people, and when I see their list of supplements that they come to, I normally check 3/4 of them off, because they're really contraindicated for their genetics and their body and what their testing is showing. So when we get that testing, we can really customize the supplements people are taking. And when it comes to nutrition, which is a part of the puzzle, but it's not the only part of the puzzle, it's really going to a more balanced state. The fad diets out there are not very helpful for most people, because we're so individual and we're so unique, and we really have to start tuning in to what our body needs versus what that piece of paper is telling you that you should be eating. So when we start listening to our body when it comes to how much of a supplement we're taking, what foods we're eating, really focusing on fueling ourselves and rebuilding, we can do so much good.
Sounds like common sense to me, but
Mm-hmm.
we need to know, right, at that level. So
Mm-hmm.
testing is really important, and that's why you focus on that.
Yeah.
I agree. And is that okay to go back to the to the
For
mind?
sure. Yeah.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Me too. I have really, like, I started out so science-based, and over the years, I have such more of a connection now to the spirituality part.
In your book, you also have under part 2, Mind, Universal Consciousness, where you say, I now see God as the universal consciousness, the oneness that we all return to and come from, the infinite force that creates, I return to and come from, the infinite force that creates life. So I would love for you to talk to me about the stages of consciousness and the stages of enlightenment.
Yeah. So it's funny how even from the time that I wrote Heal Yourself, which I started writing it 2 years ago, January, I myself, my views and my spiritual beliefs have changed. And it's definitely, even reading it and seeing where I was, it's great because people go through these phases too. So what's there in the book is going to be very helpful for people who are ready to receive that. When I was writing that, I very much did believe that there were these stages of consciousness, and I still feel it that way, that we move through them. And when the majority of the population are very much running around in victim mentality, and it's a very disconnected place. They feel that the world is happening to them. They don't have any control over what's happening. And something happens for me. It happened with the meditation and my work with my first business coach teaching me about the laws of attraction. Something happens that moves you into stage 2, where you realize that you are able to create your reality. And so you move into focusing in that creation mode, that manifestation, and being able to use your thoughts to shift what's going on in your world. And then you eventually start shifting. You might be shifting from stage 1 into stage 2, and eventually you start to get to a place where you just want to allow things to happen. You kind of give up that control. There's no need for it, though you know if you wanted to go and create something, you very easily could, because you have that ability to create. But you start to just allow. And then moving into stage 4 is where the spiritual teachers are, and that's in that oneness where you are staying connected to it. And over Christmas, I actually went through what I would call a dark night of the soul. And I had a very big spiritual awakening where for 2 days, I really surrendered and felt this connection to God, where it was just unconditional love and forgiveness. And it was 2 days where I just was vibrating. I was tingling nonstop. And I feel that every once in a while to a lesser degree, but it really brought me back into realizing that no matter what happens here, we're okay, because that is what everything is that unconditional love and forgiveness and joy. And it's very hard to describe what I went through in those 2 days, but it just brought such a removal of fear, because I know that that's there. And I really needed to feel that, because I had been going through a really hard time moving away from my family, and with everything that's going on in the world, I think my ego felt lonely. And then I thought, like, well, what if God is actually lonely and created this place to be with other beings? And this surrender allowed me to be like, no, that's not. God is unconditional love, forgiveness, joy, and that vibration. It was something undescribable. And so now I really feel this let go of fear. that everything is going to be okay. And every time the fear starts to come in, I'll get a little tingle, and it's a different tingle than when you have like goosebumps. The big tingle I felt, almost like I was being like, almost like you're being like gently electrocuted.
Yeah, I
It's a
can
very
imagine.
different sensation. I don't even know how to describe it, but it reminds me. It just gives me a little reminder that no, everything is okay.
Oh my God, I love everything about you. Your wisdom, it just shows how open you are to life. And what an amazing experience to have, insight to have from within. That what if God was lonely and then created all this?
Yeah.
How amazing to have that thought even.
Yeah, it was a very dark night of the soul to go there, and my meditations where it felt very empty. And prior to that, my meditations had felt very joyful, and it was a big release and very amazing experience. And it was really precipitated. I was been doing a lot of work with the Course in Miracles at the time, and it was a big precipitator of feeling that and experiencing that.
Yeah, thank you for being open again, Sandie. That's all we need. I know there's a song about love is all we need, but I think it starts with being open. That's what we really need. So thank you for being you again.
Thank you.
We're almost at the end. I do have a few more questions for you, the ending questions and a few comments. I love the exercises in your book. There are so many of them. Setting boundaries, that caught my attention because I'm not so good at it. So that's something I need to learn. Exercise 11, you have protect your energy. That's another message for me. And then you also had the mirror work. That caught my attention too for some reason, which means I need to look into that. A move from anger to love. That's another exercise that I found to be very helpful and beautiful. Create your ideal life. So many. I mean, your work is so rich, and it feels like it is inspired by inner wisdom. You have also a section about empathy that caught my attention, where you say empathy is a skill. Most people are not born with it. And so true. And then there's another section about building healthy relationships, which is so important, where you say having healthy relationships is a key to living a peaceful life. And then you also include money mindset, which that's what I love about your work. It's just, it takes everything into the account. It's not just one aspect of living, of being, it's everything. So money, you speak of money as energy. There's so much more, so much more. So thank you so much again for doing what you're doing and for putting so much energy into helping others.
Thank you.
And before I ask you my ending questions, would you like to add anything else or read a passage in your book, Sandie, or any passage, anything?
Well, just to touch on the empathy, I think we're all born being able to put ourselves in other people's shoes and feel what they're feeling. But healthy empathy is different than the majority of people who consider them empaths, where they are putting themselves in other people's shoes and feeling what they're feeling, and there's no disconnection. And that in itself can be very harmful to us if we're taking on every other person's pain. And a lot of empaths tend to take on the pain and not the joy and the love. So that passage itself meant that healthy empathy definitely is a skill that we need to develop, because we have this tendency to get stuck in somebody else's problems and pain and suffering. And without that disconnect, it's going to really affect our vibration. So we want to work to develop being able to separate our energy, protect our energy, and also recognize and set those boundaries where we're not taking on everybody else's problems and pain and feeling like we have to solve what's happening in their life. So that's definitely the skill that we do want to develop.
Yeah, thank you for making this observation that I had not even thought about, but it makes so much sense. Healthy empathy. Yes, we do tend, that's interesting the way you say it too. We tend to take only the pain, but not the joy, not the light.
joy.
Yes, so true,
Yeah.
so true. What do you feel is the ending purpose of the human experience? If we were to die tomorrow, I often reflect on that, starting with the end. So what would that be for you if you knew you would die tomorrow? What would you do differently today?
I don't know that I would do anything differently. I don't have a fear of dying. Definitely have some very solid spiritual beliefs, knowing that that oneness and that love and that connection is there, and really have spent a lot of the past year, most of last year, really going inside and creating those beliefs and really finding the beliefs that resonate with me around death and what comes next and what is God and all of those really deep questions that we never truly know what it is, though I feel that we are able to, we do know in a way when it does resonate with our being. And when it resonates, it feels good, it feels exciting, it feels empowering. And when it's not resonating, it creates a lot of fear. And that's where we can really tell the difference in what beliefs are true for us. And for me, I think that would be okay if whether I died tomorrow or, 100 years from now, it's okay. Definitely do have some work to do more so on the attachments here. If they were to die, that would be a lot more difficult to go through, but understanding that if that were to happen, that spiritually I would be okay, even though here it would be a very painful experience. So it's finding that trust and that faith to make it so that we're not living in fear of those things happening, and creating the beliefs that really resonate with us. And it's not so much creating, but tuning into finding those beliefs that resonate with us. On a human level, I do believe it is to really be aware while we're here of the connection and the revelation that we are part of that oneness, and we do have that ability to create. And I think as a species, that might be the reason for being. But, you ask that question to 100 people, you're going to get 100 different answers.
Yeah, so true. I love the trust.
They're all okay.
I love the trust component, right? And the no fear. That's so powerful, Sandie. You have to be able to say that even with so much confidence from the heart. I feel it's coming from that place. So that's very inspiring to hear. And my last question is, what is another word for life that comes to mind?
Another word for life, oneness. I'm really feeling that word lately is just that oneness.
Yeah. Thank you so much again for everything
Thank you for having me on.
All that you represent, the beautiful open window that you are to life. It's life being life. It's just the most beautiful thing. Thank you again. And before we say goodbye, where can we find more information about you, your books, products, services, and future projects?
Yeah, so everything has been rebranded to www.sgintegrativehealing.com.
Oh, wonderful to know. I'll have this updated website on your podcast profiles, both of them.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
It will still redirect from the old one. So.
Oh, you would? Okay,
yeah,
wonderful.
It will still redirect for a while.
Good to know. Thank you again, Sandie, for your presence.
Thank you.
And we'll talk
Thank
soon.
you for having me.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about Sandie Gascon and her work, please visit motivatedtoheal.com.
To learn more about this podcast, please visit fitforjoy.org/podcast. Thank you again for listening, and bye for now.